We're back.
It's almost time. It's almost time. But I had to come in here because I got the hardest horror story of all time.
Shout out Tizzy, though.
Anybody can relate to this. If you work a 9 to 5, if you trap, anybody. You got a birthday, and then you got to work that same day. Great blue. Let's go. I ain't from the 6, but I can show you the views. I'm staying viral for a few in the eyes of the news. My perception was embedded within the stars. Formation smelling gory death, the glory steps from a far location.
I really do love this intro.
For a choice of different weapons.
Never know if it's my kindness or a sharp Smith & Wesson.
Depending on your discovery, we'll take it there. You verse another legend in the making like creative player. I'm a window through the pain, seen and heard about. Folklore, you in a story created by word of mouth.
Tell them what they listen to.
Chopping fables, chopping fables, chopping fables, chopping fables. The hell wrong with him? Boy lost his mind.
Yo, missed y'all, guys. This is Chopping Fables with Bobby Agua. I am your host, Bobby Agua, and as always, I'd like to thank you all for listening, taking time out of your day. All the normal stuff. We're still available on Spotify, available on Apple Music. We're available on Google Play Music. I mean, we're everywhere, man. So thank you for listening. I really do appreciate it. It really means a lot to me. Feel free to share the podcast with anybody that you feel might benefit from listening to any one of the episodes or might just get a little modicum of entertainment, man. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys have been so supportive in this endeavor with me. I appreciate it more than you guys know. To get right into it, man, like I fell back for quite some time. You know, I had the Divorce, Dad, Life, and Dating podcast on, you know, the divorce of my brother-in-law, and he was super candid, and I really appreciate him doing that. I had another guest in here about a week ago. I'm looking to release that in tandem with another one, and I'm looking to get the other guest in here in about a couple days from now. But in the in-between, man, I kind of had this idea to speak on this topic because I think it's really important, you know, as I've made mention. So you guys really know two main things about me, right? You know that I'm a dad, and you know that I sell technology in some form as my way of living, right? I've never said what company I work for, just for kind of, you know, I kind of want to separate this character from the man, and I've said that before. But you all know that I work for one of the major cell phone carriers, right? And so technology is a huge, huge, huge part of my life. I have said it before almost every single day at work. We are living in the most exciting time, in my opinion, that any of us could have ever possibly imagined. And I think that is really good in certain ways. And I think that it comes with certain responsibilities, and I do think it comes with certain negatives as well, right? Like, by no means is technology just the end-all, be-all, greatest thing known to man. It does take its toll on our society, and I kind of wanted to speak on that, and then the ways that we can use it to our advantage, right? Like, I don't fence hop, I don't fence ride, I don't side switch. And in this specific episode, I'm going to talk about two polar opposite viewpoints that might both be right, in my opinion. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about, and the main thesis of this, is going to be how technology affects our children, and namely how we as parents and aunts and uncles and caregivers and guardians and just adults at large are allowing technology to infiltrate our kids, and the ways that perceived negative can be made into a positive, right? So like every day at work, I have people who come in to my store who usually will fall on one of two sides of this argument. And it is either I'm going to let my child be raised by technology. He will in perpetuity be staring into a screen so that I can get the things done that I need to get done, while at the same time they're not bothering me. I can almost forget that I have a kid because they are thusly entertained, right? And then there's the other side of that argument, which is technology is the devil, and I will never allow my kids to own a tablet. They're not going to have a cell phone until they're fucking married. Like, you see people on both sides of this spectrum, and they usually fall in one of these extremes. And I think both of those extremes do a disservice to the child. Now, what I'm going to talk about first is that first scenario where kids are literally being raised by technology. I shared a status from my personal Facebook that I think didn't get a lot of attention because people saw a lot of themselves in this phrase. And what the phrase was, do your kids know who Deadpool, Ronald McDonald, and SpongeBob are? And then directly underneath it, I said, now, do they know who Nikola Tesla, Thomas Jefferson, and Einstein are or were? And I made the point that don't take it upon yourself to think that children are too young to understand certain concepts and certain figures in history. They're going to take their lessons from one of the two groups. And it's up to you as a parent or as a guardian or as an aunt and uncle or an influential figure in this child's life to decide which group they decide to be influenced by. Now, I'm not demonizing Deadpool, and I'm not saying that SpongeBob is the devil, and I'm not saying that your kids should never have a fucking McDonald's hamburger. Like, that's never who I've been. But I think that it's important to notice that if they know who these three people are, there's no reason that they shouldn't know who Einstein and Tesla and Jefferson and Washington and Booker T. Washington and other major important figures, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. There should be no reason that these people don't know who these people are as well. So let's kind of take a look, because as everybody knows at this point, I am a facts guy, right? And I really love injecting facts because facts don't care about your feelings, as I've said many times before. So if you are feeling some type of way, take it up with the facts. Don't take it up with me. If you're mad at me for you allowing technology to raise your fucking kids and SpongeBob marathons to raise your fucking kids, that's not my fault, and I'm not sorry. You're going to have to take a look inside yourself and figure out why you're doing that. But let's just kind of go through the facts, because you're not alone, unfortunately, in this endeavor we call parenting, and parenting quite poorly, in my opinion, right? So according to market research conducted by ChildWise in 2015, kids aged 5 to 16 average 6.5 hours of screen time per day. Kids aged 5 to 16 average 6.5 hours of screen time per day, with teenage boys spending the most time on screens, an average of 8 hours per day. You are spending a third of your life staring into a screen of some sort: computers, cell phones, tablets, televisions are what I think would be the four major contributors to that statistic, right? Conversely, the average teenage boy spends 1 hour and 17 minutes per week reading for pleasure. That's a really, really, really sad statistic. It makes me think of Mr. Feeney from Boy Meets World. And this was back in like 96, right? Talking about how Gutenberg's generation thirsted for a new book every 6 months. And this generation of that time got a new web page every 6 seconds. And what do we do with it? We use it to watch fucking cat videos. You know what I mean? Like, we're using this technology because I guarantee you those teenage boys aren't expanding their minds in most cases. They're watching mindless entertainment. The average 5-year-old definitely isn't trying to expand their mind at all. They're watching unboxing videos and watching other kids play with toys, which is completely ridiculous to me. Now, again, as with every single subject that I've done on any of these podcasts, I'm willing to look inside and really take a look at what my contribution is to this. And I'd be lying to you if I said that Tristan didn't spend some screen time. Now, he ain't spending 6.5 hours a day, you know what I mean? But the kid enjoys technology. He gets it honest. Look at who his dad is. And it's ridiculous to think, to me, it's ridiculous to think this kid will never watch a screen. I got a fucking television in every room. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different televisions in my house. I have 1, 2, 3 different laptops in my house. I have 2 tablets, 3 tablets in my house. The kid's gonna, I have a desktop computer in his room. The kid's gonna get some screen time. It's up to me as a parent to decide what kind of screen time he is going to get. He adopted technology as a form of entertainment very, very early, again, because of who I am. Now, I made sure that that tablet was completely chock full of educational videos, full of YouTube Kids videos that I wanted to kind of steer him in a certain direction of being quizzical and being interested and being curious of the outside world around him, right? So it was a lot of, he showed a real affinity and a real love for animals very, very early on, a huge interest in animals, specifically African animals, elephants, giraffes, lions, all types of African animals. And by about 3, he could tell you the difference between an Asian elephant and an African elephant. He knew which one was bigger. This one's ears are shaped like this. This one's typically brown and this one's typically gray. Like, he could go through all of those different things for you. And really the only reason that he was able to do such a thing was because of this technology that I had provided him. Now, again, I'm not trying to act like Norman fucking Rockwell over here. You know what I mean? Does he watch some videos purely for entertainment? Absolutely. 100%. Now, the place where, and I'm going to get super real here and show you guys I'm not trying to portray myself as any type of fucking Danny Tanner ass dad over here, you know. We had a situation in which he had stumbled upon some videos entitled Jeffy's Videos. And if you want to go on YouTube and look at them, they're absolutely fucking ridiculous. So there are these 2 guys who make silly, stupid, immature videos with hand puppets and have decided that they are going to kind of do this weird type of social justice / experiment / trolling to these parents who do allow their children 8 or 10 or 12 hours of on-screen time per day. And they are going to play judge, jury, and executioner. These are videos that are marketed for kids, look like they're kids' videos from the titles and from like the little thumbnail, pictures that you can see before the video plays when you're just selecting a video to come up next. And because, like, he has a helmet on and he has, like, a pencil up his nose. He's got the buck teeth. He is a kid. Like, he looks very childlike, the hand puppet does. And so you're thinking, oh, this is just some kind of silly, stupid video. Like, hell no. These videos have, like, sexually suggestive themes, like, an outright, like overtly sexual situations, language, F-bombs, S-bombs, motherfuckers, like, I mean, the whole gamut. You know what I mean? And I had found out very quickly, because I actually watch the things that my son is watching, that he had been watching these videos. And I sat down with him and I said, look, dude, there's going to be a lot of things that you see and hear about online that you don't necessarily need to watch at your age. It's not appropriate. The things that he's saying would get you in a whole lot of trouble if you decided to say them, and it's just not a good idea. And he understood, but you could tell that he was very disappointed. It was like he had done something wrong, and I tried to explain to him, like, look, I understand that you don't understand, right? And I'm not mad at you. I'm not blaming you for this, but you're not allowed to watch those videos anymore, period. And so, like many parents before me and many parents after me, I caught him trying to sneak it. Now, I was at a crossroads. I could decide that, you know what, there are worse things out there. It's just a little bit of, language. It's just a little bit of, sexually suggestive themes. It's not porn. You know what I mean? He's not sitting there watching the fucking, Scarface, but it was inappropriate. I told him not to do it. He did it anyway. So I ripped his fucking TV off of his wall. I took it down into my basement and I said, if you don't know how to listen, I put a lock on the computer because there wasn't one before. He had free reign on it, and I gave him enough rope to hang himself. And I said, once you have proven to me that Dad knows best and that you are not going to supersede my opinion and my direct order to you about this, then you can get your shit back. But until then, brother, you are assed out. No TV, no computer, no tablet, no nothing. I went buck fucking wild. I understand that I don't exactly have a saint's tongue. You know what I mean? I do pepper my language quite a bit with expletives. But it's because I don't have to, right? I speak very eloquently when I'm at work. I speak very professionally. This is my arena where I get to let my hair down and be a guy instead of being a dad or instead of being an employee. I understand that it's not the most professional thing in the world, and it might make people think a little bit different of me, especially if they were to meet me at work and then listen to this podcast and be like, that's the same fucking guy, But that's neither here nor there. Like, that's just, it's who I am, and both are really me. Like, work Rob is Bobby, you know what I mean? But there is a time and a place, and in this arena, in this time and a place, I don't feel the need to clean up my language at all. This is a very free-flowing discussion for you guys. Like, I write down very little when it comes to these podcasts, and if you'll notice, the podcast is marked as explicit, and I did that so that kids, and I had this idea way before I did this episode. I did this from the very beginning of the podcast because I didn't want kids to fall into this. Now, there have been some teenagers who have been given my episodes from their parents and say, listen to the Idiots with Kids episode, or listen to the Step Parents episode. I want you to listen to this. And the message was such that the parents were able to look past the language because of the message that was being delivered and whom it was being delivered to. If my son was 15 years old and watching Jeffy, I would feel a whole hell of a lot different than him being 5 and watching Jeffy, right? But he got it really quickly. And he profusely apologized. And even that first night, he's, Daddy, I'll never watch it again. I promise, blah, 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 And I said, dude, I can't. I cannot give it back to you right now. I wish I could. There's nothing in this world that makes me feel as good as watching my kid smile. But I just simply could not do it. I couldn't. So he went about 3 or 4 days without his television in his room. We kept the we ended up keeping the lock on his computer, and now he has to ask permission if he wants to use it. Just because there's a whole lot more on the internet that he can come across than on the YouTube app on his smart TV or on Netflix or things like that. That boundary is important, in my opinion, to establish with your children very early. You will not come up on the top, over the top of me and decide what is going to be appropriate for you, or decide that you're going to listen to me or not listen to me. I will rip your shit off the fucking wall right in front of you. And I proved my point without hitting my kid. And we were able to rock from there. And when he got his stuff back, when I put his television back on, I sat down and I had a fairly long conversation for a 5-year-old. I kept it to about 4 minutes and just told him, look, dude, Jeffy gets you in trouble. You watching Jeffy gets you in trouble. Don't watch Jeffy anymore. And he hasn't. And I have barged in on him and looked at what he was watching, and he's back to elephant videos. He's back to, and he'll watch the occasional Minecraft video. He'll watch the occasional silly video. But I listen to what he's watching, because a lot of these streamers, steamers, and things like that, they'll use the same language I do. And I'm just not into my 5-year-old listening to that. I'm not into my 5-year-old watching Deadpool. That shit's not cute. As a parent, you might think, oh, well, there are worse things. Well, yeah, but there's also National Geographic. My son can tell you every planet in order. You know what I mean? He can tell you that Saturn is the one with the rings. He'll tell you that Pluto is the small one. I'm trying to get him to use technology as a tool and not necessarily only as an entertainment piece. But let's keep going with the facts, right? So a recent survey revealed the following. Kids spend twice as long playing on screens as they do playing outside. Now, I have made it in my personal life, and I think I might have mentioned it on the podcast a few times. I am not the biggest fan of going outside. I'm from a place where it's not that safe to go outside. Chirac ain't no fucking joke. But, and because of this and other things, just personal preference, I'm just not a huge fan of outside. Like, I have a lot of friends who are more rural than I am, and they grew up with this love of the outdoors, right? And I have a lot of friends who love to fish and hunt and hike and all of this, to me, nonsense, right? I'm going to hike. What the fuck for? I'm going to climb up a hill just to climb back down it? Like, I got better shit to do, right? And if I really want to see what the top looks like, I'll get on fucking Google Maps and I'll Google that shit, But having said that about me, a complete, adult who has the capacity and the opportunity to make those kinds of decisions, I also recognize the fact that it is very important for kids to get that outside time, right? Childhood obesity is a huge problem in this country. Different complications that arise from not going outside, vitamin D deficiency and things like that. So especially during the warmer months, spring, summer, fall, I will absolutely tell Tristan I've taken his tablet away when I feel that he's been on there just a little too long, and I'll look at him, hey, give me your tablet. Go outside and get in trouble. Go outside and play with some dirt. Go dig up some worms. Go outside. And the kid loves to be outside, so it's really not that much of a struggle. But with me, of course my parents told me to go outside, and I fucking hated them for it. You know what I mean? But my dad, especially my father, used to tell me, go be a kid. Go play outside for a little bit. And looking back on it, like, I used to hate it. I was minding my own fucking business. Why you gotta mess with me for? You know what I mean? I was sitting here trying to save the princess, and you gotta come over here fucking with me. And now that I do have a job, and I am working, and I don't have that outside time, and I don't have those opportunities, I realize now what he meant by, hey, go be a kid for a little bit, and I'm sad that I didn't enjoy it more, and that I did push back so much, and that my mom and my stepdad didn't push back my pushback, right? I remember, this is a completely true story. I remember my stepdad coming in my room, and me and my brother were sitting down, and we were playing video games. And he goes, "You guys are always staring at them screens." He goes, "I'm going to take you out. We're going to go camping this weekend." He goes, "I'm going to make men out of you." You know that whole speech that your dad does, you know. And I paused my game, and I very calmly looked at him. And I said, with all of the sincerity at my command, with everything that I could muster, I looked at him and I said, "If you take me out camping, I will make sure that you have such a terrible time that you will never ask me to go again." Right? And I didn't go camping that weekend because he knew that I was absolutely dead ass, that I was absolutely fucking serious. And because I didn't get that, because I got my way basically, and I did in a lot of those types of situations, I was a very strong-willed child. And my dad should have looked at me and said, "Boy, you do not make the fucking rules." And in a lot of cases he did, but he also chose his battles, right? And the outside thing wasn't one that he was going to push back on that much, because he did choose his battles. But I feel like I would probably have a much more greater love for the outdoors if I wasn't one of those kids spending twice as long playing on screens as I did playing outside. And I was probably 5-1. I hated going outside. You sticky, you're getting fucking hot, there's bugs and shit. To this day, none of that sounds fun to me. But if I had spent more time outside, maybe I'd feel differently. The world may never know. 3 in 4 kids spend less than 60 minutes playing outside each day. 1 in 5 kids don't play outside at all on a typical day. That is 20% of all children don't play outside at all, and 3 in 4 kids spend less than an hour a day. 3 in 4 kids spend less than 60 minutes a day playing outside. That is absolutely in-fucking-sane to me. 75% of kids. And 3 in 4 parents said their kids often refuse to play games without some form of technology. Now, when I was forced to play outside, or when I did it on my own on occasion, you know what I did like? I liked to ride bikes. Because at 9 or 10 or 11, you get that first 10 speed, whatever it is, and this is your mode of transportation. You are off to the fucking races. You know what I mean? And I was living in Wheeling at that time, for those of you who know the kind of suburb area. And I was off and running, man. That was my ticket. And I really, really did enjoy that. It took zero technology outside of the gear shaft. You know what I mean? On the bike. It took zero technology. Backyard wrestling. Some of my favorite memories of my whole life were spent in courtyards of apartment buildings, throwing garbage cans at each other and stuffing each other in dumpsters and jumping off of tool sheds onto each other. Fucking awesome. You know what I mean? And it's really, really, really sad that these kids cannot seem to enjoy outside without some form of technology. Now, this isn't meant to vilify technology. As I said at the beginning, it can be used as a tool, but the problem is overwhelming number of parents don't use it in that form and don't make their kids go outside. And there's nothing wrong, and this is coming from somebody who doesn't like outside. There's nothing wrong in forcing your kids, hey, go outside and get in trouble. Go outside and get fucking dirty. Go outside and pass that street that I told you not to pass. You know what I mean? Like, be a kid. Just like my father said. We're allowing this to happen to our kids. And why? are we doing it? In my estimation, it's because we're getting lazy as parents. Most parents are just as addicted to their technology as their children are. I make a living on selling technology to people, and many times it's technology that they don't need. People come in and say, I need the XS Max, the newest iPhone with the biggest screen. Now, that word, especially as a marketing major, that word need is the operative word in that sentence, and it is very, very interesting to me that that is the word that is being used, need. I used to work at a downtown hospital. People need dialysis. People need a liver transplant. Nobody needs any of the shit that I sell. And it took a while to kind of be okay with that concept. The fact that people did not need what I offered. But we don't want to do things that don't include technology. When I look for a board game, I look for something that includes the television, and I'm just thinking of that on the fly. You know, I want to play Seen It. I want to play Trivial Pursuit on the television. You know what I mean? I like that technology is involved in a lot of my forms of entertainment. But I'll tell you what, I go to my buddy Justin's house. I love shooting that gun. No technology, no screen, nothing. Us outside, being guys, being men, celebrating our gender and our manhood. But we, as a society, don't want to do things that don't include technology. I can't tell you the last time that I read a book for pleasure outside of my bathroom. That's where I do all my reading, right? I can't tell you the last time that I went outside and played catch with somebody. You know, and I'm going, after this podcast, I'm really going to make it a priority to unplug a little bit. I would venture to guess that at least 40% of the arguments with my wife are because I won't get off my fucking phone. I am 1,000% addicted to that fucking thing. Either my work phone, my personal phone, and sometimes the work phone is for work and I still can't get away. And that's kind of a dual diagnosis. It's being addicted to work and being addicted to technology, both of which are bad things. And I might talk about my work addiction in a future podcast now that I think about it. Unfortunately, one of those things that doesn't include technology, you know, the technology that the adults don't want to do without, one of those things that doesn't include technology is raising your fucking kids. Television, tablets, cell phones, desktops, we are allowing them to take over the role as parents. I'm going to go through a couple of other pretty shocking statistics. According to the Youth Sport Trust Charities Class of 2035 report, which explores the role of physical education and physical activity play in the future development of generations, 1 in 4 kids thinks that video games count as fucking exercise. 25% of children from 5 to 18 think that video games count as exercise. Do you realize how fucking retarded that is? How insane that is? 1 in 4. And I say 5 to 16, but children much, much, much younger than this are getting their hands on technology way earlier than we ever did. The youngest person that I've sold a phone to, and it was an iPhone, and the newest one at that, 3 years old. Had her own phone. Now, the mom came in, and she had the pearls, and she had the fucking Michael Kors, and she had this and that, and the Gucci boots, and everything else. And I'm sure that it was more so that she could brag to her friends, oh, guess what I got Mackenzie? Guess what Dakota got for her 3rd birthday? She got an iPhone. Like, retarded shit. But it is not uncommon for 9, 8, 7-year-olds to be getting their first phone. Part of the reason is because you don't see payphones anymore, right? When we were growing up and we had shit to do after school, as do most 10 and 9 and 8-year-olds, that's about the time when after school, like middle school aged kids, junior high aged kids, start staying after school for practices and plays and basketball and intramural sports and blah, 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 blah. And you just don't see payphones anymore. And that's part of the reason. I'll give that like 30%. Well, they stay after school once a week and I have to know to pick them up and blah, blah, blah. Another big reason is that we're sick of giving our phones to our 10-year-olds and our 9-year-olds and our 8-year-olds and our 7-year-olds and our fucking 2-year-olds because we want to keep our phones. We don't want to be without our phones. Now, as far as the 1 and 2-year-olds that I see at every single restaurant that I ever go to, the parents want to have a conversation, so here you go. Here's the kid with the fucking phone. Screens distract 1 or 2-year-olds from interacting with parents, siblings, and other kids. Dan Siegel of Mindful Awareness Research Center thinks that this may impede language, social and emotional development. It may affect the children's development of insights, empathy, ways of knowing themselves, and connecting with relationships. Kids should be looking around. Kids should be exploring the world around them, not exploring the world of Minecraft while you try to have tea with the fucking ladies. Not to explore SpongeBob while you're trying to have a conversation with your husband. Here's a fucking novel idea. How about you include the kid in your conversations? Every single day I am able to, I make sure to have dinner with my family. And I do not allow tablets at the table. My son knows that. He asks almost every single time. He asks, and I tell him, you know that there's no tablets allowed at the table. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to have a discussion. We're going to talk about your day. We're going to talk about where you ended on your behavior chart, right? Because they have a behavior chart at school, red, yellow, green, blue. We're going to talk about the things that you learned. I'm going to talk about my day. Mom's going to talk about her day. My father-in-law, who lives with us, watches our 1-year-old, is going to talk about his day and the baby's day, right? And we're going to sit here and we're going to have a conversation like a family. I want him to explore those personal relationships. I want him to be able to tell me what his day was like. And it's very important that he is able to make those relationships. It's very important that he is able to express himself in more ways than expressing himself through his Minecraft world or his Roblox game. Technology is an amazing tool, and it's just that. It needs to be used as a tool. It can be a great source of entertainment, sure, absolutely. But at the end of the day, your kid is going to take cues. Your kid is going to get lessons. Your kid is going to gain knowledge from the places that you want him to gain knowledge from. And in a lot of cases, we as parents are failing our children because they're not getting them from the right places. They're not getting them from us. They're getting it from steamers. They're getting it from YouTubers. They're getting it from Netflix shows. They're getting it from all of the technology that they could be learning about African elephants, that they could be learning about the planets. But they're going to be getting it from Jeffy. If you don't do anything about it, they're going to find those things, and you're going to regret it. And that's another fabled shot, man. I really have fallen back in love with podcasting. I really needed to. I was getting burned out for a little while, and then as a lot of you know, I got some feedback from some people who had noticed that I had kind of fallen off of it and wondered if everything was all right, and if was I stopping, what was going on with the podcast, and nah, man, I'm just getting started. I just needed to take a step back for about 3 weeks and kind of get my head together and figure out where I wanted this to go from here, because we are getting quite a bit of attention, and it feels great. It really, really does. But I just needed to step away and fall back in love with the process. So now it's the show after the show where I get to sit here and listen to myself and edit and fix the podcast so that it's something that anybody in the world would actually want to listen to. I love y'all, man, and I really hope you guys have a great week to come. Like I said, the next podcast is going to be something that I'm really, really, really into, and it's going to be a 2-part episode with 2 separate guests, and I'm looking at getting other guests in here, and I just might be figuring out how to make Skype work through my microphone and my headphones and everything like that. And after that, we're off to the races, man. There is no limit as to the people that I want to have on this podcast, and we're definitely going to be doing big things. So I appreciate all of y'all. I love you, and I hope you stay tuned for the next episode. Latinos.
In the eyes of the new, my perception was embedded within the stars. Formation smelling gory, death the glory steps from a far location. Look inside Pandora's box for a choice of different weapons. Never know if it's my kindness or a sharp Smith and Wesson. Depending on your discovery, we'll take it there. You verse another legend in the making, like creator player. I'm a window through the pain, seen and heard about. Folklore, you in a story created by word of mouth. Then I'm chopping fables, chopping fables, chopping fables, chopping fables. The hell wrong with him? Boy lost his mind.